Greetings and welcome to version 2.8 of REIndicator. We're absolutely delighted to bring you a new set of capabilities and show you how to make use of them. We're going to start with a list of our new capabilities, and then I'll walk you through a little bit on how to make use of them. Here's our grand list. We have 7 items to discuss with you today. Number 1, we have a customizable locations category feature built into the system. You no longer have to take the ones that we've given you, such as hot prospect and cool prospect, etc., as the only choices. You can now create your own and store them with your account that only you can access. Second on the list is we've added zip codes as a boundary capability, so you can do a little more correspondence with your brokers that's on point. I'll show you how that works. Third on the list is we now can show you some information about the markets. We're going to keep building this capability out, but as we launch this, you're going to see that you'll know the name and the population and relative size of the markets. It also even shows the emerging market status as well. Fourth on the list is you're going to be able to print this list of markets to your printer. You can actually create a PDF first and then print it if you wish on your printer. 5, we've given you a new button on the screen to allow you to get your bearings. Sometimes you get too close to your map and you're not quite sure where you are. It'll allow you to reset things very easily. Number 6, we're going to show you how you can take the points that are on your map and have them not display. They will not be deleted from your system, but it will be a way for you to clean up the map, and perhaps while you're working with others, you don't want them to see what projects you're working on. And last, we have a colorblind palette now built into the system that people can add to their account if they are colorblind, and it might make it easier for them to understand the differences between the shadings. So let's dive in. Let's take a look at how these work. I'm going to flip over to the system that is already signed in. I'm using my Scott account up here, as you can see. I'm going to show you the number 1 item on the list, which is the customizable locations categories. Over here, inside our location panel, while we are creating a new location, we could, if we wished, click on the settings button right here in the lower right below the red marker. That allows us to build a new custom location. It's also accessible in our settings panel. So let's put in a new location. Let's put in 1232 North Carolina Avenue Northeast. That's a location in Washington, D.C. Right there it is, first one on the list. And I'm deciding that this blue dot here, none of these labels mix well for what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to go on with my settings button here, and I'm going to create a new category. I'm inside the settings for custom categories. You can see in the upper left it says that we're in the custom categories section. Select custom category to change. We're going to add a custom category, and the button in the far right here, you can see when I put the mouse over it, the dark blue comes in play, and we can click that and get ourselves into add a custom category. Let's just say we want to call this a job center. You can see I've typed that before as I was creating a demo for somebody at one point. I'm going to type in job center, and maybe we can even call it like a job center number 2 or something like that. Okay? Now, what's really wonderful about this is not only can you choose the colors that we've been using before, the oranges and such that you've seen on the screen, but we've added more colors and more shapes. So, for example, why don't we put an orange star, how about a gray star right on that location? Like, move the mouse down this list of many choices. I'm going to select gray star. By the way, you can change that symbol and color at any time that you want in the future. Let's save it in as a gray star for now, and you can see now the gray star has appeared in here. So I'm going to go back to my map, and at this point that location is still in the system, but it hasn't absorbed that color yet and that shape. But I can come down here to say I want it to be Job Center 2, and then let's put in here, I don't know, new office park or something like that that somebody might be building and you're aware of them constructing a new job center. And then you can store this. In this case, I'm going to store it in the Washington, D.C. folder because it's in the D.C. area. I can save my location, and there it is. It's now a gray star at that location. So that's a handy way for you to be able to keep track of your locations with a little more flexibility. And we're looking forward to hearing how that's working for you all. While we're on the map, we can discuss a little bit about how the zip code boundaries feature works. I'm going to leave this map on our screen right here, but I'm going to zoom in just a little bit with my plus sign so we have a little bit less confusion on the map. Because when you put the zip code marker on, notice down here below the plus and minus signs, there's a zip code word. A phrase, and we can click on the checkbox next to it, and now you can see these thin black lines are representing the boundaries of the zip codes. If I move to the north here, if I pan to the north, you can see this zip code is labeled up here 20002. So when a broker says to you, gee, I've got a lot of opportunities in zip code 2002, would you be interested in that? You might say, sure, if you knew that that zip code had large areas in the neighborhood classifications that you're looking for. But as you can see, zip codes are very big geographies, and the micro neighborhoods are far better at distinguishing the variations on the ground. So you don't have an interest in all of 20002, and in this case, maybe you'd say something like, yeah, sure, as long as we're taking a look at properties that might be, say in this case, south of Florida Avenue, or west of 15th Street, then the broker will have a better sense of what you're looking for. And they know that 2002 is a good search, but they also know that if they had something that didn't meet your additional criteria, that this way you're not trying to give them really precise locations, because that's not going to help them. They're not going to understand micro neighborhoods. But they do talk zip codes, and it's a way for you to have a better conversation about that. I will note that sometimes in the downtown areas, like downtown DC, downtown New York, downtown Dallas, you're going to get a whole bunch of very small zip codes, because sometimes individual buildings will have their own zip code because there's a large enough mail volume going in. So these are actually much more effective when you're out in the farther edges of your city areas and into the suburbs. And there'll be something you can turn on and off very easily, so you can get rid of them. You're not going to use them very often, but they're there when you do want them. Next item on the list, number 3, your markets data pop-ups. I'm going to flip this map over from micro neighborhoods into my emerging markets, and you can see now, because we're so close in on this market, that we're getting all the same shade because it's a very large geographic area. I'm going to move out a little bit, zooming out so we can call in a couple other markets. When I put the mouse on top of this market, and I am somewhere inside the market, and I click gently once, you'll notice that a pop-up appears. It's telling us the name of the market, how many people live there, whether it's a primary, secondary, or tertiary market, and it even displays for you whether or not it's an emerging market or not. This capability is going to continue to get more revealing, more information over time, and hopefully you'll be able to take advantage of this as you sift and sort through your markets. So for example, if we go down to this bright green emerging market, we can find out it's called California-Lexington Park. It's in Maryland. It only has 112,000 people living in the entire market. It's a tertiary market, and it's a new emerging. So that's very typical as we get towards the end of an upcycle, as we were when these markets were classified, to see these very smaller markets on the edges of the major metros finally take up and get on board and start seeing some growth. Well, wouldn't it be handy, now that you know that we have classifications like emerging markets in this, to be able to print out lists of those? So we've done that for you. When you're on the markets view, below the plus and minus, you're going to see there is a circle with a printer inside of it. So when you press that button, it's going to give you a pop-up that allows you to choose which of the market classifications you want to see. So for example, we just want maybe the new emerging markets. We don't want a whole list because it's not necessary for us. We want the new emerging markets, and perhaps we want them sorted out by population in descending order. That means the most populous at the top and the least populous at the bottom. Now when we set that choice, we can do a print market data, and it pops up for you as a new tab in Chrome, and it will give you the ability right here in Chrome in the upper right to print it out. Some of you are using different browsers, so the interface might be slightly different, but you should all basically have the same results. And you can see in this report, for example, several things are showing up. We only have 15 in the new emerging classifications for 2019. We can see that they're all tertiary markets. That's not a surprise. And we can see that only one of them has over 500,000. And in fact, you'd probably only want to really start looking very intensively at these markets if you were to look at any of them, because these top 7 markets are the ones that have at least 200,000 in them. I tend to prefer looking at the somewhat more medium-sized to larger markets. But this gives you a great view of how the markets rank. All right, so that was a popular request feature that we've added, and we're so happy that it's in there now. Many times when you're using a map, like we've just done here, we've got a little bit lost. We're not quite sure where we are. We want to kind of start over again without losing everything. So what you can do now is do a reset. And in the far left corner here, right below the plus and minus for our zoom in and zoom out, we have a USA button here with the flag in it. If you click that once, it will automatically reset your map so that you can see its entirety. And from there, you can then go digging as you needed to. You could type in, for example, let's say we wanted to know more about, how about Detroit? Why not? There's Detroit, Michigan. Click on it from your list. And now we're zoomed in on Detroit. And then we can click on our button here and we can find out that Detroit, how big it is. It's over 4 million in residents. It's in the secondary class and it's a not emerging market. So there you go. That's available to you now as well to help you navigate around the country a little more rapidly. The second to last item on our list is the hide show all points. Now, as you can see on this map, I have 3 saved locations. I got a marker out here in California, I have one in Florida, I have one up here in DC, but perhaps you have a moment where you're trying to show somebody what you're working on, but you don't want them to know all your stuff and all your business. So what you could do if you wanted is inside the location panel, right below My Save Locations and next to where you're sorting all of your folders out, there's an eyeball. And I want you to watch when I click this eyeball, you'll notice over here that the California button is going to turn off when I click that eyeball. It goes away, and when I sweep the panel away, you'll notice also that all the other markers that were saved as My Save Locations have gone away. The one you're seeing here in Detroit is a marker we put in, but we didn't save it. It's just remembered that we recently looked at Detroit. It's not in your saved locations. So that's why it has not been cleared from your screen. And you can turn them back on all at once as well. So that's a feature so that you don't have to go into each folder and turn off each one individually. If you wanted to pop into your map and show somebody something that you were wanted to discuss and describe to them, you would be able to kind of hide a little bit some of the stuff you're working on, or just get the clutter off your screen, which is how I use it all the time on my end. The last thing I wanted to show you is that you now have the ability inside your settings to put on a colorblind palette for your particular account. So up here in the upper right underneath the gears, I can pop on that and you can see inside here I have a option in the upper right for change my settings. This is where previously you had the ability already to change your username, email address, and the name that is appearing on your account, as well as the last item on here, which is your greeting at the top of the screen. This is a great way for you to come in here and make changes to your system, as well as changing your password so that you wouldn't have to keep seeing exactly up here an old email address that we didn't want to display anymore and things like that. Now, in the lower left of this, you can see right above Submit, there's a little checkbox that's available to us for colorblind. And when we submit that, and we put those changes in, you'll notice that the palette on the screen is different. Now, the general idea of this is that we still want the people who are using the traditional palette to also be able to recognize these shades. And there are direct translations, so it's still orangey, it's still yellowy and greeny and bluey, but it's the right kind of color that's supposed to be much more visible to most people with most different kinds of colorblind. And we'd love to hear from those folks who are colorblind of how well it's working for you. We want to keep making this feature functional for as many people as possible. With that, we have completed the review of all of the capabilities added to 2.8. We are working right now on capabilities for version 3.0. We're doing some testing on it presently, and I'm excited that we'll be releasing that to you very soon. Thank you very much for being members. Keep giving us some good feedback so we can keep bringing you new capabilities that are useful to you. All right, enjoy the rest of your day.